As the internet matured, the Web 1.0 and Web 2.0 eras have been largely dominated by centralized corporate entities. But today, we find ourselves standing at the forefront of Web 3.0, which is the decentralized web. So where does the blockchain fit in all of this? So we talked about this all day. We don't have to beat a dead horse. We really shouldn't beat any kind of horse. But we're talking about open source, public databases of transactions distributed across a global network, no central point of control, cryptographically verified by all network nodes, so that everyone maintains a true history of transactions. Blockchains are used to organize decentralized, permissionless networks of people, allowing the transfer of value globally, quickly, safely, eliminating the need for people to trust each other as participants in the network, and instead allowing us to trust technology. This evolution depends upon the built-in mechanisms for change that exist within the design of each protocol. And this comes down to governance. So there are different types of blockchains, from public to private, from permissionless to permission. I'm just going to be talking about public permissionless blockchains. That's where I've spent most of my time and energy in this space. And that's where I see the most meaningful and disruptive innovation happening in the blockchain space. So blockchains are like economies. But rather than having a central bank that decides on policy, they're designed with decentralized mechanisms for reaching consensus amongst members. Like any economy, blockchains consist of stakeholders of varying kinds who have different interests, and sometimes those interests can be opposed to one another. So consensus means finding equilibrium between these stakeholders. So if we look at governance from a very basic, high-level standpoint, there are two functions to examine. The first is the decision function. This treats governance as a set of inputs and outputs. The inputs being the wishes of the constituents in a network, the stakeholders in a network. Those could be the citizens in a country, or they can be the coin holders in a blockchain network. And it takes these inputs, and the outputs that it renders are the policy decisions. The other part is the coordination function. The coordination function consists of two layers. Layer one, which we can visualize as being the bottom layer, and this is every user's freedom of choice to decide which software they're going to run. And if you draw that parallel to the real world, that's like every citizen, that's like every person's choice of where they're going to live, which country they're going to be a citizen of, how they're going to live their lives, whether they're going to follow the law or not. One of the reasons is because the percentage of coin holders who vote on EOS is like 5% or less. And the largest holder, or I guess the largest coin holder on EOS is Bitfinex. I think they have 1.8% of the total coins on EOS. And so all of those coins that Bitfinex owns are voting for Bitfinex to be the block producer. So they win the election every time. They're always a block producer. Okay, and then there's only like 3.2% remaining of other coins to vote on block producers. So at least in their implementation, I don't have a lot of faith in that. So I'm very unconvinced about the effectiveness of a DPoS governance structure. I believe we're going to see trillion-dollar protocols. And if you think that's ridiculous, I will put it to you this way. If the protocols that the internet runs on were built in a way that they could actually be owned and that they could actually capture value based on their, how widespread they're used, those protocols would be worth trillions of dollars. So that's where we are right now with the blockchain. It's like 1993 of the internet era is where we are right now, 2018, in the blockchain era. These protocol layer technologies upon which a stack of Web 3.0 is being built, those are going to be extremely valuable. The ones that survive, the ones that gain mass adoption, the ones that the decentralized applications are built on top of, we are all going to be using user-facing applications that are built on top of the Web 3.0 stack, using blockchain technology. A lot of people who are going to be using these apps, they won't know what blockchain is, because they won't need to know, right? How many people know how the internet actually works? Most people who use the internet have no idea. It's actually very complex, right? Most people who use the internet don't have any idea what's actually happening in the background. But that's fine, right? Because they get what they need from the technology. When the internet was first created, it was very user-unfriendly, as blockchain applications are today. They're very user-unfriendly. They're really only catering towards people who are hardcore developers themselves. So we're a few years away from this coming to fruition in terms of mass adoption, but there is a process that needs to be followed. First, you build the foundation, the protocol layer. Then you build layers on top of that. So one of the layers that's going on top of that is, these are the technologies that will be powering decentralized applications. So one example is Filecoin. Filecoin is a decentralized file storage system. So it's basically a decentralized Amazon Web Service, AWS. So much of the internet is powered by AWS today. Does someone using Facebook, or, well, not Facebook, but someone using another service that runs on AWS care or know that they're using something that runs on AWS? No, because that's just for the developers in the background to work with. So those are the technologies that are being built today. Now, when we get to the point where mass adoption of decentralized blockchain-based technologies has occurred, this investment opportunity will have passed.